My wife and I run an e-commerce business that started as a side hustle 6 years ago. We have 4 employees, including ourselves, and last year we grossed $9 million.
Wow.
Yeah, thanks. As our business grew, I found partners and vendors to delegate tasks to rather than hiring internal employees. The partners are doing a decent enough job handling the work, but after reading your book, specifically The Driver of People, I am wondering if using partners and vendors is a good way to continue growing our business, or should I invest in building our own team?
Typically, and I won't say it's an always rule, but most of the time, bringing some of the tasks in-house, if you have a steady, predictable cash flow environment where you can do that, bringing the task in-house is cheaper. Typically, it'll save you money. For instance, if you were hiring a programmer to write some code for a website, you can outsource that pretty easily. And we did and have off and on for years done that. But it's close to double of what it would cost me to hire that person and bring them in here and keep them as a full-time team member. And so, but I have to have a steady flow of work, no ebb and flow of work, and I have to have a steady flow of cash to be able to pay them, right? So once we had enough work demand to start hiring web programmers, we started hiring software engineers and web programmers, and versus contracting it out, it saved us a ton of money. And we've got a lot more quality control, and we have 100% focus on us. When you're dealing with outside freelancers, they have other customers. When you're dealing with an employee, they got one customer, me, right? And so total focus, and you got cultural alignment and mission alignment and stuff versus, we don't tell other people how to run their businesses. So with a vendor, they get to do whatever they want to do with their culture and their other stuff. And so we don't know that. But again, it would require a steady flow of cash, which you're making a ton of money, so that's not an issue as long as that cash is fairly steady and you can make payroll. And I would just analyze it and go, okay, what is it I'm doing? I mean, is it SEO work, or is it code, or are we doing creative, or what would be an example of one you might bring in house, and could you do a cost comparison on it?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the other half of why I'm bringing this up. When we were smaller, it kind of was irrelevant. But now, I did a cost analysis on fulfillment.
Yeah.
And we would save about half. And then our marketing placement, I don't think we'd save money, but the person, like you said, would be fully dedicated to us, which right now they probably have a dozen other clients. So I'm thinking that makes a lot of sense.
The focus of that on a marketing campaign executed flawlessly because of 100% focus is probably worth its weight in gold.
Okay.
That's one I would definitely look at. Fulfillment, I don't know. I mean, we outsource the bulk of our fulfillment. We have a shipping department internally that does a lot of specialty and custom stuff and small order stuff and that kind of thing. But stuff that runs high volume, like if you buy a Total Money Makeover or an EntreLeadership book on our website, that's coming out of an outside fulfillment company, because we found the opposite there, that we could execute a contract with them cheaper than try to build a whole warehouse and bring all that stuff in. But we're doing massive volume, and the physical infrastructure needed to do it didn't make sense for us. And so that put a different spin on it, where it was actually cheaper to outsource it than it is to. I mean, our break even on having warehouse and tow trucks and forklifts and forklifts and OSHA regulations and all that bull crap, man. It was just no, thank you. Yeah. So for us, but again, that's we're talking about a massive warehouse operation. So it's not a small thing, but but most of your stuff's digital, isn't it?
No, we ship a lot of physical products.
Okay. Yeah. All right, cool.
Yeah. So we
If you can, that's exactly the way to look at it, though. You're doing it correctly. If you've done the analysis and it's cheaper for you to keep it in-house, then do it. Because we kept ours in-house for a long, long time. It had to get to ridiculous volume stuff before it made sense to take it out. And we actually looked at it in this last contract renewal, whether we're going to bring it all in. We looked at it again as one of the possibilities. We were looking at 2 different vendors and the possibility of bringing it back in-house. And it was a cost analysis, just like you're doing. So the cost analysis will be the answer to your question. There's no thing that you're doing wrong just because you're using outside vendors. It's not wrong. It's not to say, oh, no, you always should build a huge team. No, no. We only build a huge team if it's the most efficient way to get the work done.
Okay, that's good to know, because I'm not the best at finding qualified people, and that's probably what's kept me from growing the team. Is it's just easier to push it to someone else. But now that our scale has increased so much, I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, this maybe doesn't make sense anymore. So,
well, that may be a skill you need to develop anyway.
Yeah,
where you don't feel that way about yourself, and because you are going to need some key people to scale. You've done an amazing. Your team ratio to your gross is 4 to 9 million. Is pretty impressive, and yet if you had 2 or 3 other people bringing rocket fuel in there, what else would happen? Oh my gosh! So yeah, I would challenge you to work on that skill and get comfortable with your competency in that, but it is not to say that, oh, no, we'll always have everything outsourced. Because the same skill you're using to hire and bring on thoroughbreds is the same skill you'd be using to select a high-quality vendor. It's still a human being executing the stuff.
Yeah, which I learned mostly through trial and error.
Yeah, well, we all have. Me too. And so that's why the hiring and firing lesson in EntreLeadership, or if you go into the elite materials and the elite members, and they get in these advisory groups with our coaches and all, it's the number one thing that comes up is hiring and firing. It's the number one pain point in business by all of us. All of us. When I teach that lesson at EntreLeadership events, it always gets the higher scores than if I teach something else. And just because it's a felt need, and meaning that we all are trying to build that competency. So I think you're probably doing better than you feel like you are, but I would push it on through and get comfortable with the whole idea.